Hi crafters! If you've been wanting to make Christmas cards that feel personal, special and still budget friendly, you are in the right place. Today I'm starting my Christmas craft series with 4 card ideas made from everyday scraps you can find around the house. Let's begin and craft cards your loved ones will love to keep. My first Christmas card has a boho look. I went for a simple tree shape, just a big triangle cut from a cereal box. Then I cut small leaf shapes from old cloth in bold, happy colors. I imagined this tree as a little celebration of color. I only colored the base with a green pine marker so that it still feels a bit real in case any colors shows through. I arranged all my cutouts on the tree and glued them with hot glue. It's amazing how well fabric and cardboard stick together. At the top, I place a little triangle of fabric for a clean finish. I paint the trunk brown and then I add a little magic. I sew white and gold beads onto several leaves to look like tiny ornaments. If sewing isn't your thing, you can glue them, but be careful, they might fall if you ship the card. That's why I prefer sewing. Okay, now we need a star. I cut one from cardstock and cover it with fabric. I pick a beige fabric, but I color it gold with a marker to make it shine. Then I add a small green fabric star in the middle to create a nice contrast. A Christmas tree isn't complete without a garland, in my opinion, so I used the seam of an old shirt my daughter wore. Its tiny flowers add the perfect boho touch, and done! I love how playful and colorful this one feels. Next up is a more traditional tree. I draw a realistic shape with 3 rows of branches on a cereal box and I glue it onto a piece of gift wrap I saved from last year. I love reusing things like that. Nothing goes in the trash in my house. You can do so many projects with them, and this one with its little tree pattern feels perfect to me. Then I glue little balls of green seal paper all over the branches. It takes a bit of time, but I love how it gives depth and dimension. Because of that extra depth, I also raise the trunk with paper mache clay and trace small lines to make it look like bark. I'll paint it brown once it's dry. For the garland, I use polyester ribbons. I always save polyester ribbons from gifts and balloon styles, so I end up with almost every color possible. For this tree, I picked purple, indigo and white to match the background. I glue the ribbons across the branches and I think it looks great. So now I'm making some little balls with leftover ribbons. I cut them into circles and add a bit of hot glue to give them volume. Then I stick these improvised Christmas balls onto the tree. They are shiny and they look perfect. And now I make a star for the top of this traditional tree. It's easy, I cut a star from cardboard, and since I decided this tree would mostly use polyester ribbons, I stay with that idea and glue ribbon strips on it in layers. It becomes a nice mix of colors. That's the cherry on top. Now that the trunk is dry, I paint it brown and that's it. This traditional card is complete. It's one of those designs that makes me happy just looking at it. The third card is for nature lovers. I want something rustic and natural, so I use fake modeling moss to cover the branches on my cardboard. I already had some, but if you need to buy it, it only costs a few dollars, so it's really inexpensive and you can reuse it many times. It's perfect if you are making cards for your whole family. Covering the tree this way is very quick, but because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, I don't want the moss to come loose. I brush some glue over it to hold it in place. This also gives me a nice base to add white flocking and sparkles. For the trunk, I use burlap cord. You might already have some burlap cord at home. Often it comes with tags on clothing or other items. I also use long pieces of burlap for the garlands, and I try to create a pattern so the tree doesn't look flat. To add a little extra, I put snow at the bottom, which also hides any small mistakes in the burlap. I cut a cloud shape from white cardstock and hot glue it to the base of the tree. Then I sprinkle white flocking with silver sparkles on top. It already looks nice, but since I'm not adding balls to this tree, I feel it needs a little something more. I decide to use pine needles for some natural accents. I break a few into small pieces and stick them into the moss with tiny dots of hot glue. Once that's done, I make a star, color it gold, and hot glue a small gold bead in the center. Wow, this one really takes me back. I can almost feel the forest of tall pines from my childhood. I absolutely love it. Finally, I make a card for people like me who hate throwing away plastics, especially the thin ones that can't be recycled everywhere. Some plastics, even if they show the recycling side, can't be recycled everywhere. It really depends on where you live. In my case, thin transparent plastic isn't recycled, so I make sure my cookie box becomes something beautiful. I cut petal shapes from the plastic box and glue them onto the tree. Then I color them green with a marker. For the trunk, I use a piece of corrugated plastic from the same box. Hot glue doesn't stick very well to plastic, so I only use it to hold the pieces in place. Then I secure everything with a stapler. I don't consider stitching because punching holes in plastic with a needle can be tricky and dangerous unless you hit the tip first. I hide the staples with a green marker as best as I can. Next, I cut a small star from the plastic blister and glue it on top of the tree. I color it gold and outline it in green, then I add snow effects at the bottom of each branch with a white permanent marker and color the trunk with a copper marker. The translucent plastic lets the light shine through beautifully. I cut out the tree and glue it onto a white egg-shaped piece of cardboard. For a garland, I reuse plastic twist ties from toys and attach them into the staples I already made. I take a piece of polypropylene mesh ribbon from some flowers I received and staple it onto white cardstock that's glued to cereal box cardboard to make a background. I cut the excess and use it as a trim at the bottom of the tree, hot gluing it in place. I also apply a line of hot glue at the top to prevent the mesh from fraying. Just to make it even more secure, I glue another piece of white cardstock on the back and fold the extra edges over the card, and done! I hope you liked this card and the previous ones too. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, it really helps and gives me feedback. Subscribe to follow more of my Christmas craft sessions and learn all my tips for working with cardboard and recycled materials. Thank you so much for watching and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Happy crafting!